Hello and welcome back to the channel for another video. Sorry if the audio sounds different to the previous video. I upgraded to Windows 11 and everything got reset, so I had to try and do it, and this is like the best I could get it. I think I was silly and I didn't export my OBS settings, so this is where we are. We're starting on this screen because I want to show you the first Ghibli film that I watched, or that I logged on Letterboxd at least, which was Princess Mononoke. It wasn't actually the first one I watched. The first one I watched was My Neighbor Totoro, but that was years before I got a Letterboxd account. And most of these movies, although some of them in this list here, like the Ring movies for example, and A Tale of Two Sisters and Peter Jackson movies, they were watched before I had Letterboxd, but I was at a point where I wanted to log every film I'd ever seen and give it a rating and just have like a collection, but then I stopped, and that's why it's incomplete. Let's get into the list. These three here probably ruin some of the list for you, but there's 25 films, so there's a lot to go through. So starting at number 25, we have Ocean Waves, which was my least favorite. All of these are, I think, now available in Australia on Netflix, but I bought them all on DVD. And Ocean Waves, at least, I think, I'll probably get corrected in the comments if I'm wrong, it's the only one without an English dub. I have a preference really. I watched most of these subbed because that's how they were made and that's how they were intended to be viewed. But not having the option was a bit odd, considering the original recording I wouldn't say is up to scratch, for example. The story also didn't captivate me all that much, so that's why it is where it is. Then we have Tales from Earthsea, which is one of my more recent watches in the Ghibli list. It is panned as one of the less likable Ghibli films, and I can see why. I don't know the source material, although that was a point of criticism for some things I saw online about it. I just felt like it just dragged on for way too long. The story wasn't too bad, because I don't know the source material, I don't have anything to compare it to. I thought the story was interesting, but it was just way too slow for me. Then next up we have From Up on Poppy Hill, which is a more recent addition to the list. I just couldn't get into it. It took me a few watches to even get through it. Just didn't click for me, unfortunately. It was kind of sweet, but it seemed a bit ordinary if you ask me. Next up we have Earwig and the Witch. And I did accidentally scroll up too fast, so I'll probably ruin the next one for you. But Earwig and the Witch, I was expecting to like it a lot less than I did. I fully understand the criticism towards the ending, and the animation style does seem like a strange choice. As far as story goes, outside of the ending, I thought it was a pretty interesting story, and that's why I gave it 3 stars. So my ratings, by the way, a 3-star film is a film that I consider decent, but I wouldn't rewatch. A 2.5 is a film that, I wouldn't rewatch, that I also don't think is that good. Next up we have The Red Turtle, which I gave a 3.5, which is like watchable and rewatchable. The film doesn't have much dialogue, but that wasn't an issue for me. That isn't where I found my issues with the film. My issues was the pacing. I thought it was slow, and then towards the end it just jumped a lot, and went from like really slow to just really fast, and it just didn't really click with me, I suppose. Next up we have My Neighbors the Yamadas, which is an interesting film. It's a different art style to most of the others, but I enjoyed it and I found some humor in it. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about it. 3.5 stars from me, and I enjoyed the film. And I thought that the art style was unique, but it wasn't unique to the point of Earwig and the Witch that it was off-putting. It was actually somewhat charming. Next up we have Pom Poko, which I watched I think this year, and it was interesting. Some of the stories about the animals that Ghibli does are either hit or miss, and this was alright. It wasn't incredible to me, but it was interesting and decent, and the deforestation stuff was important, but I didn't understand some of the point of some of it, and I don't know if that's like a cultural thing because I'm Australian, maybe I just don't get it. It was interesting. Also, just to clarify, these films outside of My Neighbor Totoro, which I watched many years ago, from the second one to the 25th took me I think 2.5 years or so. Next up we have Porco Rosso, which is about a flying pig, or a pig who's a pilot. I was expecting a bit more from the movie personally, but I thought it was interesting and watchable, and I thought the moral of the story was also interesting, and because it's 3.5, I would rewatch it. Didn't really stand out to me like it did presumably to others. Next up we have My Neighbor Totoro, and you may be confused about why it's so far down the list. It's the first one I watched. It is only 3.5, and given it's such a staple for Ghibli and anime worldwide, the 3.5 may seem low. I haven't rewatched this film for quite a while, but I know why I gave it 3.5. It's probably closer to 3 actually, and that was my own fault because I think either before or after watching it the first time, I watched a theory about it that was somewhat dark. I think it's called like the death theory or something. And that made the movie just kind of scary, I guess, in a way. And that just didn't sit well with me. And I don't think that that's fair on the movie. I think that the movie, if I didn't see that theory, will probably be a 4.5. Because it is a good movie, but just the subtle undertones of that theory suggested just haven't left me, and that's why it's a 3.5. Next up we have The Cat Returns. This is a spiritual sequel somewhat, another film, and I didn't know that. I watched this before the other one, but the other one hasn't come up in the list yet, so you know that that's higher than this. But yeah, I quite enjoyed this and I'd happily rewatch it. Next up we have Only Yesterday, and there's a bit of a spoiler up the top if you can spot it for the next film. But Only Yesterday was a sweet film. It's more of a slice of life film. It's the most recent one I watched. I thought I'd seen all of them and then I checked and went through my collection and I was missing one film, and that was Only Yesterday. But it was good. I enjoyed it. A welcome addition to the collection. Next up we have Castle in the Sky, and I quite enjoyed it. It's a bit more sci-fi-ish, fantasy-ish than some of the others, but I enjoyed the moral of the story and I thought it was good. So 4-star is similar to a 3.5, but something that I would choose over a 3.5-star film. So it'll be like higher on my rewatch priority, if that makes sense. There's another film coming up that I think I watched day before this one. Next up we have The Wind Rises. This was one of my more recent watches and I did quite enjoy it. I thought it was very sweet and it's romantic if I remember correctly, and it's just a good film. That's all you need to know. Highly recommend it. Next up we have the film that I watched, I think, the day before Castle in the Sky, which is Nausicaä of the Valley of the Wind. I, unfortunately, watching Castle in the Sky and Nausicaä so close together wasn't the best idea. I went in blind though, so I didn't know, but they're very similar films, at least to me, which may have lowered the rating a little bit because they didn't come across as unique to each other, or there wasn't much separating them, I should say. Given I gave one a 4, I felt that the other deserved a 4 as well, because that only makes sense. Next up we have The Tale of the Princess Kaguya. This is another one like My Neighbor the Yamadas that had a pretty unique art style, but I quite enjoyed it and I enjoyed the story. It was very interesting and sweet to me. Also, sorry if the audio sounds any different. I had to leave the room and come back. Next up we have a film that you may think is a bit low on the list, Grave of the Fireflies. Now this is said to be like the saddest Ghibli film, and I agree with that. It's very heartfelt and sad, but I think because I knew that going into it, I was kind of prepared. So the sadness just wasn't as sad to me as it should have been. Like if I didn't know that it was sad going into it, I think it would have hit a bit harder and it might have been like a 4.5 or maybe even a 5. It's a good film nevertheless. Highly recommend. Next up we have most recent film, The Boy and The Heron. And this is one of only 3, I think, on this list that I've rewatched. I will admit, I watched this film and for the first 3/4 of the movie, I was really confused and had no idea what was going on. I was like, it looks pretty, but I don't get it. And then when it finally clicked, I made sense of it all and I understood it, and it was really clever and really interesting. But it's a 4 because it was so confusing for so long. And the person I actually rewatched this with left the film confused. They didn't actually understand what happened in the film, so I feel like that's something that's also kind of detracts from it a little bit. Next up we have Ponyo. Ponyo is one that I think I'd seen at least parts of before the watch that I did that gave it 4 stars. It's an interesting film set in the sea like some of the others are, or around the sea at least. It's a very sweet film. I actually think maybe 4 stars might be a bit low, but it's one that I definitely want to rewatch for sure. Next up we have Kiki's Delivery Service. This film is one of the only ones I think that I started watching on DVD and then watched the rest on Netflix, because I started watching it at home and then I wanted to keep watching it, so I put it on Netflix instead of taking the DVD with me. It's also one of only 2 I think that I bought the anniversary edition for. That's how much I enjoyed it. I thought it was very sweet. It's about Kiki, who's a witch, and she decides to deliver stuff. And there's a cat called Gigi, I believe, and the cat's really cute. So yeah, absolutely love Kiki's Delivery Service. Next we have Whisper of the Heart, which holds a special place in my heart, no pun intended. I believe that this is the one that is the prequel of sorts to The Cat Returns. I think this is where the cat from The Cat Returns originally is in like some antique shop of some sort. This is a really sweet story and I just enjoyed it for that. I thought it had a good story, it was well made, you know. Next up we have the first 4.5 star film, When Marnie Was There. As you saw at the start of the video, this was one of the first ones that I watched during my watch of all the Ghibli films, and it is an amazing film. Assuming it was a couple of years ago, I remember that it's about a kid who sees a house on the other side of the lake, I think, and then goes and discovers it and discovers about the house, I think, if I remember correctly. But yeah, really good film. Highly recommend it also. Next up we have The Secret World of Arrietty, which I watched, I think, mid to late last year, I believe. I know that this is based on a story. I didn't know the original story. I think The Borrowers is what it's called. I didn't know about The Borrowers prior to this, so I didn't have that knowledge prior. You know, I didn't know what I was getting into, and I really enjoyed it for what it was. The person I watched it with knew the story, and they also really enjoyed the movie. Next up, we have another 4.5 star film. Number 3 on the list, we have Howl's Moving Castle. But what an amazing movie. That's just as simple as it is. I really enjoyed it and I really need to rewatch it actually. Through making this video I realised how many of these I would like to rewatch, and Howl's Moving Castle is definitely one of them. So next up we have the number 2 film, my second favourite Ghibli film, and that is Spirited Away. A 5-star film, and actually the only 5-star film in this list. I have only seen this once, well twice, because I did watch it as a kid because I remembered one specific part of it that isn't in the trailers or anything. So I know that I saw it as a kid but didn't remember it. And it's not a spoiler or anything, but the bit I remembered was when she was walking up the stairs and fell down the stairs. It's like 20 minutes into the movie, I think. That was the bit I remembered. So I knew that I'd seen it, but I didn't remember it. I was probably like 8 or so when I saw it, I imagine. That would have been like 2004. Absolutely just amazing film that I would love to rewatch. If you don't know about it, like, it's probably one of the most important anime films ever made. I don't know if that's an overstatement or not, but it's definitely put anime films on the map. But that brings us to number 1. There were 3 films that I gave 4.5 that I had watched somewhat early in my Ghibli watching. So it is no surprise, I suppose, that number 1 film is Princess Mononoke. And you may be confused as to why a 4.5 star film is rated higher than a 5-star film. And that is purely because although Princess Mononoke is not a perfect film, I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed Spirited Away. And that may be confusing given the rating system, but Princess Mononoke I have rewatched once or twice, I think, and I haven't rewatched Spirited Away or Howl's Moving Castle or The Secret World of Arrietty or When Marnie Was There. I actually haven't really rewatched many of them. So purely for the fact that I've rewatched it and enjoyed it, and I did also buy the anniversary edition, purely because of that, it holds up higher than Spirited Away because I have rewatched it and enjoyed it just as much. It was actually my phone background for a while there after I watched it. It's a really interesting film about environmentalism, mainly, I think, and friendship and stuff like that. But yes, Princess Mononoke holds a special place in my heart and is my favourite Ghibli film. Let me know in the comments what your favourite Ghibli film is that you've seen, and maybe you haven't seen all of them, which is fair, or maybe you have and maybe your opinion is different to mine. I'm more than happy to have a conversation in the comment section. I will say that after I finished watching these, I finished with Only Yesterday. After that, I was sort of exploring Miyazaki's older stuff. I watched Panda Go Panda, which has a lot of similarities to Totoro, but that was interesting to see like the origin stuff. And I have Lupin the Third, but I haven't watched it yet. And I didn't include Panda Go Panda in this list because it's not technically a Ghibli film, although I think it was kind of marketed in Australia as a Ghibli film to some extent. Thanks for watching this video. I do have another video planned, so you should see another one somewhat soon. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a nice day, and peace.